back. Okay, so thank you all for coming to the residence of Shri Chinitai Sachinandan Dev ki jai, Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Bhagwan ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Our speaker is saying Hari Bol louder than all the rest of us. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
That's the idea. Hare Krishna. So today it's my great fortune to introduce a very sweet and gentle soul, His Grace Hari Parshad Prabhu ki jai. So Prabhuji does not need introduction from me. It's my fortune to introduce Prabhuji. So Prabhuji is a disciple of His Holiness Radha Govinda Maharaj, who is a disciple of His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Prabhuji is well known for his sincere study of our scriptures and the presentation of the essential teachings of our scriptures in a very relishable and understandable manner. So Prabhuji will enlighten us on this topic of better, more responsible shiksha for the Vaishnava society. So the qualities I really appreciate about Prabhuji is, yes, he knows our scriptures, but what I really appreciate is the wonderful qualities that Prabhuji demonstrates continuously every time I've heard you on Zoom or had association at our temple, etc. You know, it's a natural that when you love someone and serve someone, you kind of develop similar qualities of that person of your affection. And just like that's true in material life, that is also true in spiritual life. So one thing we continuously see is Prabhuji's great love and respect and desire to serve Swami Bhagavan Shri Krishna. And as a result of that, he has the qualities that Krishna Bhagavan demonstrates. It's just a universal principle. That whom you serve closely and hold dear to your heart, the qualities of that person come into our heart. So I really appreciate your respectful demeanor, the gentle way you address questions in a very loving and instructive manner, your poetic sense. And I really also appreciate your wonderful sense of humor. Those that are close to Paramatma, you know, elevated acharyas and our spiritual masters, their sense of the mundane things that we do are so elevated and so, transcendental, including their sense of humor. So I can remember incidences when you just spoke one sentence on all the couple of times I've heard your lectures in our congregation, and I just kind of get a sense of great happiness in spiritual life. Krishna consciousness is a happy process, and if we feel happiness, then that comes out very genuinely, and you can always see that in Prabhuji's demeanor and how he approaches all of us. So without further ado, let's associate with Prabhu, and that association means to take instruction. Shiksha is initiation into education. So let's take that sincerely during this very important topic for all of us in spiritual life. His Grace Hari Parshad Prabhuji ki jai. Shivancha kalpatrubhyascha kripo sindhabhyecha patitha nam pavnebhyo shobhyo namo namaha. And Prabhuji, just as a housekeeping matter, although Arati will occur at 12:30, it will be kept
silent.
silent, so questions, answers can be entertained, etc. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. My sincere thanks, Jai Sachidanand Prabhu, for kindly introducing me. And I don't know what to say. You were very kind in introducing me, Prabhuji. I'm very grateful to be in this wonderful association of the devotees at ISKCON of Portland. Asajjanaha sajjana sangi sangat karoti dussadhyam apiha sadhyam pushpashrayat chambu shirodhirudha pipilika chambati chandra bimbam. Actually, it is impossible for an ant to touch the moon. It is not possible for a tiny ant to touch the moon. But the impossible becomes possible when the ant takes shelter of a flower and the flower is offered on the head of Lord Shiva. So then the ant can perform the feat of touching the moon. So here I am the ant, and all of you are like good flowers who are offered at the head of Lord Shiva. And in your association, I may try to touch the moon, dear devotees. Otherwise, it is not possible. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for being such a great source of inspiration, great source of encouragement for myself. And I've always been in appreciation of ISKCON of Portland, because every temple, the mood of the temple is mainly decided by the leaders of the temple. And in our ISKCON of Portland temple, I call it our because I already feel like a member of it. I don't know which other place in the world I could say our, but this place definitely I could say our, because there are many places which are very big and very grand, and many big sevas are going on. And the first time I came here, I was told that no, it's not such a big center. I said, that's not what I want. That's not what I want. What I want is a small yet very warm and loving center. I'm looking for a family, actually. So this particular place is that family-like atmosphere, which is very difficult to find, in many other places. And Prabhuji, you are the, main leader who has made this happen. So I'm very, very thankful to you and to Bhakti Rash Mataji for kindly making this happen. So I would only like to say that I would like to always have your friendship and cherish that friendship, because I always feel that your demeanor is something I could always learn from. How many of us agree that, how many of us have seen an angry Jai Sachidanand Prabhu? Raise your hand. You can't, yeah. See, nobody raised their hand. Only you voted against it. No. So I'm sure nobody has seen an angry, Jai Sachidanand Prabhu, because even if Prabhuji's anger is also very sweet. Let's just put it that way. Huh? So if I would have noticed that the shoes are not properly in place, I would have rather given, a spicy address saying that why the shoes are not in place. But Prabhuji's way of getting things done is very sweet. Thank you so much, Prabhu. This is Gaudiya Vaishnava sweetness that you have in you. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. I'm very, very grateful that, I have you as one of the individuals whom I consider to be near and dear in my life. Dear devotees, today I would like to speak something about a culture of better, more responsible shiksha in the Vaishnava society. Before I begin, I would like to start with Mangala Charan or auspicious invocations. Most of us know these verses. You can kindly sing along with me. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले सोऽयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन्निति नामिने। नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। नमो महावदान्याय कृष्ण प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। I don't know what that is. Okay. Hare Krishna. So, I hope I am audible behind to everyone. Welcome dear devotees to this presentation on better, more responsible shiksha for the Vaishnava society. Most of us have received shiksha from somebody in order to be here in the positions that we are today. Somebody has guided us in the past and therefore we have become devotees or are in the process of becoming devotees of Shri Shri Radha Krishna. And it is very nice to receive good quality shiksha. We all got trained by reading Srila Prabhupada's books. And by reading Prabhupada's books, most of us experience that effect of transformation on the heart, which was unprecedented in our lives. And as time passes, most of us will also find ourselves in a position where we have to give this shiksha to somebody else. So dear devotees, as and when we grow older in the society, more experienced, there will be newer individuals who come to the society, and it is important to give shiksha to newer individuals. So dear devotees, how many of us have engaged in outreach programs, preaching programs, or have spoken to new individuals who come to the temple? Can you please raise your hands? Yes. So there are many who have done that, and there are many who will do that in the future. So it is important to understand that it is what is the role of a teacher in the life of individuals who are newly coming into Krishna Bhakti. How can we give them effective shiksha on all levels, and what are the best practices that a teacher should have when they are speaking to students who are newer to them. So this is very important for us to understand. Before I begin, I would like to begin with a quote from Srila Prabhupada. So somebody whose voice is strong enough, or do we have another mic? Yes. So I will display a quote from Srila Prabhupada, and I would like, Prabhuji, will you read? Or, Prabhuji, yes, please. Yes. Srila Prabhupada says something about shiksha. Kindly read, Prabhuji.
To broadcast the cult of Krishna consciousness, one has to learn the possibility of renunciation in the terms of country, time and candidate. The teacher, Acharya, has to consider time, candidate and country. He must avoid the principle of niyamagraha. That is, he should not try to perform the impossible. What is possible in one country may not be possible in another. The Acharya's duty is to accept the essence of devotional service. Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 23:105.
So, Srila Prabhupada is saying here that when somebody becomes a teacher of Krishna Bhakti, they have to understand the time, place and circumstance in which they are speaking their message. What is applicable in one country may not be applicable in another country. What is applicable in one place may not be applicable in another place. And this is not an instruction that he is giving in a letter or a personal conversation. This instruction is being given in a purport to Chaitanya Charitamritam. So it is a general instruction given in a book. So anybody who is teaching Krishna Bhakti to others should be aware that there are time, place and circumstance related considerations, and one should avoid niyamagraha. Does anybody know what is the meaning of niyamagraha?
Just following for the sake of following.
Okay.
And other is following without knowing the significance behind it.
Yeah. Overdoing the rules and regulations. Forcing the rules and regulations of one place in another place. This is what Srila Prabhupada says. Now, dear devotees, it's important to understand that when we are teaching something to others, when other devotees, newer individuals come to us for guidance, what are we supposed to teach them? What is true education that should be given to each and every individual who comes to us? Because there are many people who will walk into the doors of the temple, and when they come to us, we are supposed to give them something. What are we supposed to give them that will help them forever? So it has to be understood that the thing which we are supposed to give them is basically true education, and true education means vidya. What does it mean? Vidya. What is vidya? Vidya is, in general, it means knowledge. But specifically, vidya refers to a special type of knowledge. When anybody comes to our society, when anybody comes to a spiritual movement, they should receive vidya. By vidya, I mean something. Vidya refers to a specific term, and this is defined by the authority Parashar Muni in the Vishnu Puran, and he says something. Please repeat after me. Sa vidyaya vimuktaye. Sa vidya, that is vidya, ya vimuktaye, which will lead to liberation from repeated birth and death. So only that is considered to be true education, which is helpful in one purpose. And what purpose is that, dear devotees? Liberation. Liberation from what? Repeated birth and death. Now there are many people who are teaching many things in the world outside, and people call it vidya, but that is not actually vidya. Vidya or education is not simply for filling one's stomach and maintaining oneself. In today's world, vidya or education has become a means only for fulfilling one's belly and nothing beyond that. But when they come to a temple, they should receive something beyond, ordinary, mundane education. They should receive vidya. Jai. Shri Nitai Sachinandan ki jai. So they should receive vidya. And vidya is only one, that which liberates. So this is the translation. That is education which liberates one from repeated birth and death. Now a question arises. What about other types of education? Like we have learned so many things. I have learned engineering in my life. So many individuals learn so many things. So what about those types of education? Those types of education are okay, but they are not meant to be given in a place which is designed specifically for the highest type of education. Our society, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, is designed to disseminate the highest type of education, and that is Vidya, which will liberate one from repeated birth and death. And this one should understand at all points of time. When somebody comes to the temple, when somebody comes to spiritual life, what we should be giving them is something which will liberate them from repeated birth and death. Now, many times we have the tendency of thinking that other education is also important, and therefore we should give them other education also. It is correct that other education is important, other forms of education such as basically how to live nicely, such as how to earn nicely, all these are also very important. But at the same time, if one starts considering these as the highest form of education that is to be given, then that is a clear mistake that one is making. In the same Vishnu Puran, Prahlad Maharaj is making a statement to his father Hiranyakashipu. I will sing this verse, kindly repeat after me. Vidya buddhir avidyayam अज्ञानात् जायते बालोऽग्निं किं न खद्योतम् असुरेश्वर मन्यते. So vidya buddhir avidyayam. What is not vidya or what is ignorance? Some people think that to be vidya. Some people understand that to be knowledge. So when somebody comes to a temple, freedom from repeated birth and death, they should it's a big responsibility upon us. We should give them that knowledge which will liberate them from repeated birth and death. If we start considering ignorance as knowledge, then that is not good. Sri Prahlad Maharaj says, Vidya buddhir avidyayam. Only by ignorance does one consider ignorance as knowledge. Exactly as a small child sometimes considers a glowworm to be fire. So actually Vidya has the potency, true knowledge has the potency to liberate one, whereas all other forms of education are not having that same potency. Dear devotees, now it is very important for us to understand that if I start speaking about other topics in a spiritual assembly, what is the harm? Today I could have come here and I could have spoken on any other topic. For example, I could have spoken about how to be happy in life. Narottam Vilas Prabhu, wouldn't that be good? Yes. I could speak about 6 mantras of a good career. Is that nice? Yes. Would you like to hear that topic from me? No? Why? I could speak very well, Prabhu. It's avidya. Dear devotees, it is avidya. Ultimately, if I start speaking on these topics, then what will happen? What will happen is people will get influenced and start thinking that this is what is the ultimate aim of life. And this is something which will not help them in the long run. Believe it or not, many individuals say that in the name of practicality, we should keep spiritual life at a slight distance from new people. We should not immediately give them the direct full force of spiritual life. When in fact Srila Prabhupada never wanted something like that. Srila Prabhupada wanted that individuals who come to spiritual life should be immediately given what is the absolute truth. And it should occur as a revolution in their lives. That is what Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for. Sometimes we mistake ignorance for knowledge and we do not immediately give people what they really actually need, direct instructions on devotional service or how to execute devotional service. Narad Muni once saw Sri Vyasadeva trying this. Sri Vyasadeva wrote 17 Puranas. And after writing 17 Puranas, something happened. Does anybody know what happened? Vyasdev was very happy? No. What happened? Vyasdev was? Despondent. And Vyasdev was despondent. So if the author himself is not happy, will the people who read his literature be ever happy, dear devotees? No. There is no possibility. At that time, Narad Muni came and spoke something to Vyasadeva. He asked a sarcastic question to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva, are you happy? Vyasadeva said, you know what is in my heart actually, therefore you are speaking like this. Huh? Please tell me what is my mistake. He said, Sri Vyasadeva, there is one big mistake in trying to teach people about the material world and trying to make them happy by objects of the material world. What is the big mistake? Sri Narad Muni says something in the Srimad Bhagavatam. This is the verse he quotes to Sri Vyasadeva. Tato nyatha kinchana yad vivakshata prithak drishastat krita rupa namabhi nakarhichit kvapi cha dusthitamatir labhet vatahata nauri vaspadam. Prabhu, can you read the translation, please?
Whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different form and names to agitate the mind, as the wind agitates a boat which has no resting place.
So anything we think indirectly this will lead to Krishna, I'm sorry, Vyasdev tried it. This has already been tried and tested. So I will give, let's say a new person has come to the temple. I am little afraid of speaking him directly about Krishna. So I give him some indirect knowledge. Do you want to become happy in life? Yes. So I will give you 6 sutras for happiness today. And this is his first visit to the temple, dear devotees. So what he leaves with is 6 sutras for happiness. He doesn't get any direct knowledge for devotional service. We should ensure that some direct knowledge of devotional service is also given to such an individual. Why? Because if we don't give any direct knowledge of devotional service, any other knowledge will ultimately simply react in such a way that will cause more disturbance to that individual in their lives. You cannot solve a problem on the level that it was created. The material problems will always remain as they are, and there is no solution of material problems in the material world. So if we try to give people temporary solutions, that may work for some time, but ultimately we will have to give them actual knowledge of devotional service or Krishna Bhakti in order to make them happy. So this is something which all of us should very clearly note. Now, it is important that in order to teach others, we should be a Brahmana. Because Srila Prabhupada expected that all members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness should be Brahminical in nature. Vidya or education once approached a Brahmana and said something. This is described in the Vedas. Vidya Devi personally approached a Brahmana and said something. What she said to the Brahmana is recorded in the Vedic literature named Nirukta. It is the Vedic dictionary. Vidya Devi came to a Brahmana and said something. This is what she said. Please repeat after me. Vidya havai brahmanama jagama. So Vidya Devi personified approached a Brahmana and said to the Brahmana, what did she say? Gopaya mam shevadhishthehamasmi. Please protect me, because I am your wealth. Oh dear Brahmana, all of you dear devotees, you are expected to be Brahmanas. Vidya Devi approached a Brahmana and said, Gopaya mam, protect me. Okay, protect me means, please don't exploit me once you have me with you. Don't exploit me. Please always protect me. And how should you protect me? So she said, Asuya kayan rjaveyataya. If there is any person who dislikes me, who doesn't like true knowledge, if there is any person who is crooked, or if there is any person who is devoid of sense control, not ready for spiritual life, then please Nama Bruya Viryavati Yathasyam. Then never give me to such a person, because only then will I become very powerful. When somebody comes to spiritual life, first and foremost, we should make them mentally prepared to receive Vidya. And only when we see that a certain person is a fit candidate for receiving Vidya or true knowledge of spiritual life, then we open the secrets of spiritual life to such individuals. It is also important for teachers or those who are teaching to be of this character. They should not be crooked, and they should have sense control in their character. Because if a teacher is crooked, or if a teacher does not have sense control, they will not be able to teach others. Dear devotees, there is one thing which I was taught in my, because I myself teach in the world outside, there is one thing which I was taught, that it is okay to not teach something, but it is not okay to teach something which is incorrect. Some days it is okay to not teach students a particular thing, but please don't end up teaching something incorrect. When we teach others something which is incorrect, it has a major disastrous effect on the listeners. For example, if I come here today and I speak a siddhanta which is incorrect, a philosophical conclusion which is incorrect, all of you listen to it and then you keep it in your mind. But is that philosophical conclusion correct or incorrect? How will it be removed from your minds, dear devotees? Okay, somebody should come and say this was wrong and this is actually right. But then your mind will be confused. How do I know what is wrong, what is right? Usually how it is removed? You will have to make a painful mistake in front of somebody and then realize that this was a mistake. And then somebody will have to come and tell you that this is not the actual truth. The actual truth was something else. So would we like to teach other people in this manner, dear devotees? No. So what should a good and more effective teacher be like? A good effective teacher should be somebody who is well prepared with their sources. Dear devotees, if we have to give effective shiksha to those who are coming after us, it is very important that we should be well prepared with the subject matter. What is the subject matter that we teach in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness? Okay, Krishna. This is one of the teachings. Devotional service. What we are teaching in the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, I will sum it up in one phrase. Devotional literature. What are we teaching others? Devotional literature. Anybody who comes to us, they are receiving one teaching. Either that teaching is related to devotional service, or that teaching is related to any other aspect of spiritual life, but it comes from one source. Which source do all the teachings come from? Devotional literature. How many of us have here became devotees because we read devotional literature? Please raise your hands. Everybody became devotees here because we read some devotional literature. We now understand that an effective teacher should have good command over one thing. And what is that one thing? Devotional literature. It is important for us to have good command over this, because if we don't have good command over devotional literature, there is a high possibility that we may end up teaching something incorrect to other individuals. And if we end up teaching something incorrect to other individuals, it will be a painful mistake which they will carry for many years in their lives until they realize that I had learned something incorrect. Now, in any university, who is appointed as a teacher? A very qualified person, right? So a very qualified person is appointed as a teacher in a university. Now, in our devotional society, who should be appointed as a teacher? Or somebody who has read one page, he can teach one page, right? Somebody, that's what you have heard this, if you have read one page, you can teach one page. But if you have read one page and you teach one page, and this person in front of you asks a doubt which is from another page, then what will we do? Therefore, it's very important. Simply by learning one page, we may be able to repeat that one page. But in order to become an effective teacher, one should have knowledge of the entirety of devotional literature. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada often said that preachers should carefully understand how many books? 4 books. What are the 4 books? Bhagavad Gita, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion, and Ishopanishad. It's very important to understand these 4 books very thoroughly, not just to complete a syllabus, because many times we are reading these 4 books in order to complete a syllabus and get a certificate. See, now I am a certified teacher, all right? So that certificate is good and we should do that course. But the aim of the course is something else. The aim of the course is not the certificate. What is the aim of the course? To understand the literature. For what purpose? So that we can teach others. So if somebody comes to us with a query for regarding devotional service, most likely the answer will be found in one of these 4 literature. Bhagavad Gita, Ishopanishad, Nectar of Instruction, Nectar of Devotion. A devotee should have very good command over these 4 literature, and this is the expectation of Srila Prabhupada. Dear devotees, if we have not prepared ourselves in one of these 4 literatures or all of these 4 literatures, we should study these literature very carefully before we speak to others in a confident way. Meanwhile also we can speak to others, but we will find in many places that we are not able to answer the doubts of individuals. And when we are not able to answer the doubts of individuals, how does it feel to have your doubts not answered, Prabhuji? Yeah, it feels empty. It feels, tremendously dissatisfying to not have the doubt. And how does it feel to have the exact answer for the doubt, the exact answer that you need to be specified from one of these 4 literature? How does it feel, Mataji? Very satisfying. It feels very satisfying. So it's very important that as teachers we should have that caliber of answering the queries of individuals who come to us. I asked one of my Shiksha Gurus that what should be the qualification of a person who sits on an asana and speaks to other. The answer which I got was that the person who sits on the asana and speaks to other should have 10 times the knowledge in that subject matter as compared to the people who are listening. They should have 10 times the knowledge and realization of the people who are listening to them, because only when they have a wide variety of knowledge will they be able to give proper answers to questions. In a university, who is considered to be a good teacher or a professor? Who can answer all the questions? Or who can just come and teach the syllabus? No. After teaching the syllabus, there are question and answers. It is very important to have such a teacher who is also able to resolve the queries of the individuals, and these queries arise on the spot, live. These queries should be answered. And this each and every one of us should try to implement in our lives. Narottam will ask, let's say tomorrow you are teaching Bhagavad Gita. And if you speak Bhagavad Gita in such a way, some doubts arise, you are able to perfectly answer all the doubts. How would it make your students feel? Very, very happy. Would you like to become such a teacher? I'm sure you already are. But would you like to become such a teacher? Yes. How many of us would like to become such teachers who can answer all the doubts of the students nicely and who teach in such a way that the level of knowledge that we have is very high? How many of us would like to become such teachers? All of us would like. Teaching is to be done as a service, as a seva for the Vaishnava society. It's a seva, it's a service that we are rendering unto others, those who are coming after us. We should not lead them into painful mistakes, dear devotees, very important. We should not lead them into incorrect understandings, because it is very painful to come out of incorrect understandings. Very painful. One time, I'll give a very simple example. There was a particular individual who the form of the Lord, Virat Rupa, it is described in the Sanskrit. The Virat Rupa is an imaginary form. Somebody came to me, it's an imaginary form. When I made them read the actual purport and the verse, it is clearly described that the Virat Rupa is not an imaginary form. It is not imaginary. The Virat Rupa is a real form. Which form is it? But the yogi, because the yogi is not able to visualize the entire form using his senses, therefore he has to create an imagination of that form within his mind. So the form is not imaginary. The conception of the yogi is imaginary, dear devotees. I hope you are able to understand. Many times it is said that the entire form itself is what? Bhagavan doesn't have any imaginary forms, dear devotees. The yogi's conception of Bhagavan's form is imaginary. Now, I myself was in the painful mistake for many years that the Virat Roop is which form? Once I went to Vrindavan and I said casually to a devotee, who is not an ISKCON devotee, some other sampradaya, Virat Roop is imaginary form. He said, have you read properly Srimad Bhagavatam? I said, yeah, I have read. It's imaginary form. He said, read again carefully. And then they showed me in the verse. But he said, it is the yogi's conception of that form that is imaginary. I had made a painful mistake in front of somebody else. How many of us would like to be in such a position? No, we don't want to be in such a position. But somebody had taught me. I forgot who had taught me because it was many years ago. I can't even go back to that person and say, why did you teach me incorrectly? Because I forgot who had taught me. So it's very important, and when we are laying the foundations of somebody's spiritual life, it is we who are deciding what sort of knowledge they are going to get. So we should be very careful in giving them proper knowledge. It is better not to teach something rather than teaching it incorrectly. So this is very important to understand, dear devotees. Now, therefore, it is important to always stick to shastra. Dear devotees, in Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, there's a very nice verse in Bhagavad Gita. Please repeat after me. Tasmat shastram pramanam te karya karya vyavasthitau gyatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartum iharhasi. Krishna says pramanam. What is the yardstick for knowing what should be done, what should not be done? What is correct, what is incorrect? What is desirable, what is not desirable? Is my mental speculation the yardstick for it? No. Tasmat shastram pramanam te. What is the yardstick? Shastra is the yardstick. Karya akarya. In what should be done and what should not be done. Now, gyatva shastra vidhanoktam. Only after knowing Shastra and the rules and regulations of Shastra will you be able to determine what should be done and what should not be done. It is the responsibility of all those who are preachers or all those who are speaking to others to understand what is the version mentioned in the Shastra. The way by which we always remain bona fide in our preaching is by always sticking to what? Shastra. It is very important to stick always to Shastra in order to ensure that our speaking is 100% bona fide. This is the translation of the verse. Prabhu, kindly read.
One should therefore understand what is duty and what is not duty by the regulations of the scriptures. Knowing such rules and regulations, one should act so that he may gradually be elevated.
I will narrate one story here. Please hear, everyone hear carefully. Many hundreds of years ago in Ujjain, there was a king. And this king had a big assembly in which he would respect Shastra very much, respects the scriptures very much. He had many Pandits, learned Vaishnavas in his assembly. And every day these Vaishnavas would speak on various nice topics to him. And this king would respect all the Vaishnavas and Pandits who were there in his particular sabha, in his assembly. Now, unfortunately, this king had a son who was a number one fool. Number one fool. So, this son had absolutely no respect for Shastra. And he would often think that these people who are speaking so many words about Shastra, these people are actually here only for money. So, these Pandits who are in the assembly of my father, they are here only for money. His attitude was always disrespectful towards Shastra. So these Pandits also did not teach him anything nice. He grew up to remain foolish like that. But he became a king because he was the son of the king. Now, whenever the Pandits or the learned people used to call him, Maharaj, please come today, we are having a nice discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam today. He would say, "Yeah, it's okay. Who is speaking?" He will say, one learned Vaishnava is coming. He says, okay, do one thing, take this 51 rupees and give from my side, and thank you very much, Hare Krishna. All right. So, he would always avoid learning from Shastra. So he became, his intelligence could not develop in this regard. One day, a very crooked Pandit, a very crooked person came to his kingdom, and he asked the people, who is this king and does he respect Shastra? So they said, he doesn't respect Shastra, he just does token lip service to Shastra. So this Pandit thought, wow, now it's a good opportunity for me to make some money from him. He said, can I meet this king? Yeah, he's just newly crowned. He was prince actually, he's newly crowned. You can meet him. Come in the time when, all the Pandits are there in the assembly. No, I don't want to meet him when all the Pandits are there. After they go home, can I meet him? Yeah, sure. But usually he takes rest immediately. So he gave some money to the guard and said, after everybody has gone, please let me have 5 minutes with the king. Okay? So next day, when everybody had gone home, the king was about to retire. He was in his night clothes. So this crooked Pandit came and he said, I want to meet the king. So the guards opened the door because they had received some money. So they opened the door and they informed the king, Maharaj, some Pandit has come from Kashmir. He wants to speak to you. So he said, for what reason? Already the entire day these people are, speaking something from Shastra. What is the need for, again, meeting such a person? Give him 51 rupees and let him go. So he said, no, he wants to speak to you. So he said, okay, all right, call him inside. So he called inside, Pranam Maharaj, how are you? It's everything okay? Do you need anything from me? So he said, King, hear carefully. I said, what? Are you having proper Pandits in your assembly? He said, yes, I am having good Pandits. My father selected them, hand-picked them. He said, I don't think so. He said, why? He said, every morning when you come in the assembly, what are they singing? He said, they sing some mantra, I forgot. What did they? Shuklambar Dharam Vishnum. So the actual mantra is, most of us might be knowing. Who knows the mantra? Yes, Mataji. Wonderful. So for auspiciousness, they are singing this mantra. Shuklam Dharam Vishnum Shashi Varnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye. So I will tell you what is the actual meaning of this mantra. Please hear carefully. Shuklam Dharam. Our Lord Vishnu wears brilliant cloth. Please keep this image in your mind. Vishnum, Shashi Varnam. His face is like the moon. Chaturbhujam. How many hands does he have? 4. Prasanna Vadanam. His face is smiling. Dhyayet. Meditate upon him. Sarva Vighnopashantaye. For getting rid of all obstacles in life. This is the meaning. So this person said, this Pandit said, Maharaj, do you know this mantra? So he said, I don't know this mantra, I know little bit. I'll teach you this mantra. So he taught him, Shuklam Dharam Vishnum Shashi Varnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vighnopashantaye. He said, Maharaj, do you know what is the meaning of this mantra? He said, yeah, the meaning is Vishnu. But the meaning is not Vishnu, Maharaj. Acha, meaning is not Vishnu. What is the meaning? He said, do you want to know the confidential meaning of this verse? He said, yes. The meaning is not Vishnu. The meaning is 1 rupee coin. So Maharaj said, how? So what are the words of the verse? What is the first word? Shuklam Dharam. Is wear brilliant cloth. You see, Maharaj, in your kingdom, everybody ties all the coins in a brilliant cloth. Yes or no? Yeah. What is the next word? Vishnu. Vishnu means Vishati, Pravishati. He enters everywhere and everything. Today this coin is here. Tomorrow it will go to the next state. Day after tomorrow it will go somewhere else. Day after tomorrow it will go somewhere else. So the coin is what? Vishnu. Shashi Varnam. Shashi Varnam means it is brilliant like the moon. Isn't the coin brilliant like the moon? Yes. Chatur Bhujam. Chatur means intelligent people. Bhujam, they enjoy it. Huh? Chatur Bhujam. Prasanna Vadanam. Somebody sees a coin fallen on the street, their face becomes happy. Dhyayet. O king, meditate on the coin. Sarva Vignopashantaye. Because all obstacles are extinguished when you have coins with you. Alright? Oh my God, I never knew that the real meaning is not Vishnu. What is the real meaning? Coin. Rupiah. These Pandits were fooling me all this time. Tomorrow let them come in the morning. I will ask them. And if they don't give me the correct meaning, I'll immediately throw them out. So said, Maharaj, very good. So that crooked Pandit had fooled him. Said, Maharaj, now I will take leave. If you want to give some donation, you give. He said, no, I want to make you Raj Pandit, the head Pandit. He said, Maharaj, I am not attached to any post and position. Huh? If you want to give something, give, otherwise I'll leave. He said, no, wait. So he gave 1,000 gold coins to that Pandit. And that Pandit went away, never to be found again. Huh? Next morning, the king went to the assembly. All the Brahmanas came and they are singing. Shuklam Varadharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Acha, wait, all Brahmanas. Huh? What is the meaning of this? O king, Lord Vishnu is wearing brilliant clothes. His face is like the moon. That? You are fooling me since many years. My father also you were fooling. The meaning of this verse is not Vishnu. The meaning of this verse is 1 rupiah coin. The Brahmana said, no Maharaj. Meaning is Vishnu. Nah. Until somebody tells me that the meaning is a coin, until somebody shows me how the meaning is 1 rupee coin, nobody will be allowed. Get out of here. So all the Brahmanas were surprised. They said, this is not what it is. He is not willing to listen. So he threw all of them out of the assembly. All of them, they cursed him and went outside. Since that day, intelligent people stopped coming in his assembly. Because whenever an intelligent person would come to his assembly, he would say, have you heard the verse? Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. Yes, what is the meaning? And if somebody would say Vishnu, he would humiliate that person and throw him out. After some time, the scholars and Pandits and Vaishnavas started saying, don't go to his assembly, he's a foolish person, he'll ask you that question. And if you don't answer, he will throw you out. In this way, 6 months passed and not a single intelligent soul dared to enter his assembly. After 6 months, another intelligent Brahmana, very intelligent Brahmana, he came from Kashi, Varanasi. And he came to the kingdom and he asked the Brahmanas, how is the king in this? Does he respect learned people? Don't even enter his assembly. He will ask you that same stupid question. He will give you that verse. Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Shashi Varnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashantaye. He will ask you the meaning, and if you don't say rupiah, 1 coin, then he will insult you and throw you out of the assembly. So, this learned Brahmana said, Hare Krishna, Jai, Shri Nitai Shachinandan ki Jai. So, this learned Brahmana who had come from Kashi, he said, should I try tomorrow? He said, oh, feel free to feel insulted, alright? Huh? Go tomorrow. So he went the next day into the assembly. The king was sitting there, and when the king was sitting there, this learned person came. The king said, "Who are you?" He said, "I am a Brahmana. I have come from Kashi. I am also a Vaishnava. So I would like to, speak something from shastra to you." So the king said, "Acha, really? Have you heard this verse? Shuklambaradharam Vishnum Shashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignoposhante." "Yes, Maharaj, I have heard." "Do you know what is the meaning?" So this Brahmana said, "Maharaj, some foolish people think that this verse means 1 rupiah coin. But Maharaj, in actuality, do you know what is the meaning of this verse?" Maharaj said, "What?" I'll first speak in Hindi and I'll explain. The meaning of this verse is dahi vada, or yogurt covered patties. That's what translated. Maharaj is about to fall from his seat. "What? Dahi vada? Yogurt patties?" "Yes, Maharaj." "How?" "Maharaj, what is the first? Shuklam Baradharam. You see that dahi vada has a white covering upon it. Yes or no?" "Yes." Vishnum, it enters everywhere. Today it will enter in your mouth, tomorrow in my mouth. It enters everyone's mouth. Shashi Varnam, it is as brilliant as the moon. Chatur Bhujam, intelligent people, Chatur Bhujam, they eat it. Prasanna Vadanam, after eating, what happens? You will smile. Dhyayet, Maharaj, meditate on dahi vada. Sarva Vignopashantaye, because all your hunger problems will be solved by eating what? Dahi vada. Oh my goodness. I was not knowing that this verse doesn't mean 1 rupiah. What is the actual meaning of the verse? Dahi vada. Thank you, Maharaj, for kindly relieving me of my ignorance. Do you agree to become my guru, my Raj Pandit? He said, "I will become Maharaj, but only on one condition." He said, "What?" "You will learn from me for 2 years the rules of grammar and the dictionary. And you will learn for 2 years Srimad Bhagavatam simultaneously. Do you agree?" "Okay, Maharaj, I'll learn from you. And meanwhile, you will reinstate all the Brahmanas." "Okay, I will do that." So he reinstated the Brahmanas and he started teaching him what is the dictionary, grammar, etc., Srimad Bhagavatam. So after a few months, this king was himself sitting and yes, Shuklam Baradharam Vishnum Shashi Varnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vignopashant. Then he found out, oh, actually, the verse is referring to whom? Vishnu. Oh my goodness. I made a major mistake in my life actually. So, dear devotees, it's very important to realize that what is the importance of having a proper guru. It's very important. And if we are in a position of instructing others, if we are giving instructions to others, should we give interpretations like 1 rupiah or dahi vada? No. These instructions, these sort of interpretations or instructions should never be given by us. Therefore, it is important for us to ourselves have a firm grasp on the literature of our tradition. Srila Prabhupada said in the comment that those who want to be serious students of Srimad Bhagavatam should read Srimad Bhagavatam from multiple angles of vision and from multiple commentators. Then one becomes a serious student. By reading from multiple angles, one understands so many things that otherwise are not understood. How many of us know the first verse of the Bhagavad Gita? Many people know, right? Dharma kshetre samaveta mamaka pandavas chaiva Kim akurvata Sanjaya. Anybody can teach the verse. Is it not so? What is the meaning of the verse, Prabhu? In Kurukshetra. What did they do? In Kurukshetra, which is abode of dharma, both armies had assembled. What did they do? Have I not understood the verse? Yes. Anything missing from the verse? No. But what about understanding it from different angles of vision? Should we understand the verse from different angles of vision, dear devotees? Would you like to? One verse, which is a very basic verse. Most of us have read this verse. Let's understand the verse from different angles of vision. All right? What is the first term in the verse? Dharma kshetre or Dhritarashtra uvacha. All right? Dhritarashtra uvacha. What is his name? Why? One person knows. Dhritam Rashtram Yena, because he was holding on to his land. Therefore Vyasadeva decided to call him what? Dhritarashtra Uvacha. He said something. What is the first term? Dharma Kshetre. What is the meaning of Dharma Kshetre? In the abode of Dharma. Question is why? Why is Kurukshetra known as Dharma Kshetra, dear devotees? Okay. So, because many sages performed sacrifices over there. What is the pramanam? It's very important. Somebody may ask, okay, you said many sages performed. Proof? So, Vedas say, Kurukshetram devanam deva yajanam sarvesham bhutanam brahma sadanam. Kurukshetra is a place even for the denizens of heaven to perform sacrifice. For all living entities, it is a place where they can get liberated even if they die here. So, therefore, Kurukshetra is which kshetra? Dharma kshetra. Okay. Kurukshetra, samaveta, assembled. Question is why? Why did they assemble? For war. Mamakaha. What does Mamakaha mean? My sons. Why is Dhritarashtra saying Mamakaha? He is very selfish, very nice. So he wants to separate his sons from others. Pandavascha and the sons of Pandu. Kim akurvata. What is the meaning of Kim akurvata? What did they do? He should say, na, what are they doing? Why is he asking a question in the past tense? Was the Bhagavad Gita spoken live? Sanjay was narrating the Bhagavad Gita live? Many people say yes, but the actual answer is no. Sanjay was narrating from the past tense. For the first 10 days, Sanjay was on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And Dhritarashtra was confident that nothing will happen until Bhishma is alive. On the 10th day of the war, who falls? Bhishma falls. Sanjay returns to Hastinapur and tells Dhritarashtra, Dhritarashtra, Bhishma has fallen. Dhritarashtra gets the biggest shock of his life. And then Dhritarashtra says, Dharma kshetre, Kurukshetre, Samaveta, Yuyutsava, Mamakaha, Pandavaschaiva. Please narrate from the beginning what happened. So is Sanjay narrating in present tense or in past tense? Past tense. So, oh Sanjaya. What is the meaning of Sanjaya? Samyak Jayati. He who wins over his listener completely by his expert speech is known as Sanjaya. Same verse understood from different perspectives. Now, after knowing various perspectives, is it easier for us to explain it to others, dear devotees? Yes. So therefore, we should always have multiple perspectives on the same shastra that we are teaching, dear devotees. Therefore, shastra itself says that the guru should be learned, dear devotees. This is a phrase from the Upanishads. Please repeat after me. Tad vijnanartham sagurum evabhigache samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtham. So, this is the translation, Prabhu. Kindly read.
To learn the Veda, one must approach the Guru. In doing so, he should carry fuel to burn in sacrifice. The symptom of such a spiritual master is that he is expert in understanding the Vedic conclusion, and therefore he is fixed in the absolute truth.
So what is the condition of the spiritual master or the teacher mentioned in the shastra itself? That person should be expert in understanding what? Vedic literature. It's very important to understand that when we teach others, we should ourselves be fixed in a proper understanding of the Vedic literature, dear devotees. Okay. Now, by getting good knowledge of Vedic literature, what is the advantage for the teacher? Vedic literature is something so important that by coming in contact with Vedic literature, one is coming directly in contact with Shri Krishna himself. Dear devotees, believe it or not, Vedic literature is nothing but Shri Krishna in the form of words. What is Vedic literature? Shri Krishna words. If Shri Krishna were to ever take the form of words, that would be the Vedic literature. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna says to Chitraketu that he has two forms in this world. Please repeat after me. Shabda Brahma Param Brahma Mamobhe Shashwati Tanu. I have two forms. First form is called Shabda Brahma. What is the meaning of Shabda Brahma? Shabda Brahma is the absolute truth in the form of words. The absolute truth in the form of words. What is the absolute truth in the form of words, dear devotees? Srimad Bhagavatam, all Vedic literature is the absolute truth in the form of words. Param Brahma, the absolute truth in a threefold bending form. That is known as which Brahma? Param Brahma. So there are two forms that the absolute truth takes. What are the two forms? Shabda Brahma, Param Brahma. And there is a relationship between two forms. Shabda Brahma leads to which Brahma? Shabda Brahma is an indicator of which Brahma? Shabda Brahma is the indicator, Para Brahma is the indicated. I hope you are able to understand. Shabda Brahma is the indicator, Para Brahma is the indicated. This is the translation. Prabhu, kindly read.
My two eternal bodies are known as Sabda Brahma, Vedic literature, and second, Param Brahma, my transcendental form.
Okay. Dear devotees, does anybody know what is like in Para Brahma, when it comes to form of Krishna, which form is the original form? Krishna. So when it comes to Shabda Brahma, absolute truth in the form of sound, which sound is the original sound of all Vedic literature? Om. Omkar is the original sound. Krishna is the original person denoted by it. I hope you are able to understand which is the original sound and who is the original person denoted by it. Now Krishna takes incarnations in the world. Can somebody name the incarnations? Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, Vaman. Does this Shabda Brahma also take incarnations? This Brahma has taken incarnations. What about incarnations of this Brahma? Rig Ved, Yajur Ved, Sama Ved, Atharva Ved. What remains in Yajur Ved becomes the 18 Puranas. Yachishtam tu Yajur Vedam. What remains in the Yajur Ved, the supplementary portion of the Yajur Ved becomes the 18 Puranas, and Vyasadeva expands the 18 Puranas from there. So basically it is the original Shabda Brahma which has incarnated into this world. But which is more merciful, Shabda Brahma or Para Brahma? The word manifestation or the direct form of Krishna, which is more merciful? Why? Yes. More merciful is Shabda Brahma. Why? Because people get access to Parabrahma not directly. They get access to Parabrahma only through the gateway of which Brahma? Shabda Brahma. Today, are Krishna's pastimes going on in Vrindavan today in front of everybody's eyes? How do we access Krishna's pastime today? Through which literature? Shabda Brahma. Through Srimad Bhagavatam. So even today, which form of Krishna is present for our benefit today? Shabda Brahma. So it's very important to understand, coming in contact with Srimad Bhagavatam is directly coming in contact with Krishna, Shri Krishna himself. And if we come in direct contact with Shri Krishna, it is immediate direct purification. Now, would we like other people to remain devoid of this direct contact? No. Therefore, effective teaching is teaching of Shastra, first and foremost. All other qualities are secondary. Teacher should be compassionate, yes. Teacher should have a good behavior, yes. Teacher should be merciful to the students, yes. All these are good. But the main quality is, what should the teacher teach? Shabda Brahma. What should the teacher teach? Shabda Brahma. Shastra, basically. And which Shastra is the most important for this age of Kali Yuga? Srimad Bhagavatam. This we should give to each and every person who comes in contact with us. It's very important to ensure this thing. Now, how should a teacher speak? He speaks the message. Dear devotees, it is mentioned in a verse in the Bhagavad Gita. There is a verse in the Bhagavad Gita which mentions the characteristics of a good teacher. The characteristics of a good teacher are mentioned in one of the verse. So, I will point out this verse. This verse is chapter 17, verse number 15. I will point out this verse. Dear devotees, kindly have a look. Please repeat after me. Anudvegakaram vakyam satyam priyahitam chaya swadhyaya abhyasanam chaiva vangmayam tapa uchyate. When the teacher speaks, the teacher's speech should have some very important qualities. What are the important qualities? First, anudvega karam vakyam. Anudvega karam vakyam means the teacher's speech should not agitate the student. Many times people sit on a platform only to agitate their audience. They love agitating their audience. For example, if I were to try and do that today, I can try to do that. Are you ready, Prabhu? Yes? Are you chanting all your rounds in one place, in one straight position every day? Everybody should chant in one fixed position, in one place, sitting all your 16 rounds. With the otherwise, it is impossible for you to attain perfection. If you hear such a thing, you are supposed to ask a question. What question are you supposed to ask? Don't ask me a Shastric reference. You see, the speech of a person who wants to agitate others. Somebody who uses his speech as a weapon to beat others. That person cannot become a good teacher of Shastra. Alright? So a good teacher of Shastra is Anudvega Karam Vakyam. While commenting upon this verse, Sri Adi Shankaracharya specifies what is the speech of a good teacher. Please hear what he says. Please repeat after me. Vatsa Shanto Bhava. Dear student, please be silent. Atra Atishtha. Come sit here. Swadhyayan ma pramadaha. Do not become lazy in your studies. That you How does that speech sound, dear devotees? So this is how I learned from, I read his commentary, and he literally speaks how the teacher is. Vatsa Shanto Bhava. Dear student, don't be disturbed. Come sit here. I'll teach you what it is. So this is the nature of a teacher. Anudvega Karam Vakyam. His words will not agitate you. Second is Satyam. His words have to be what? Truth. The teacher has to speak truth. If I give you some sweet false lies today, and you may feel happy about it, but it is not the truth. So it is like feeding somebody, sweet poison. Because it is lies actually, ultimately it is going to harm us. So Satyam. And fourth is Priyam. What is the meaning of Priyam? Pleasing to the ear. Pleasing. Not only should it not be agitating, it should actually be what? Pleasing. Should be pleasing to the ear. And hitam. What is the meaning of hitam? Beneficial. It should lead to the ultimate benefit of the person who is listening. And if this is not possible for a teacher, then the teacher should do one thing. Swadhyaya. He should sit at home and read, do self-study. Swadhyaya abhyasanam. If the teacher can't do this, then better not to teach others, do self-study. And this is austerity of speech. This is the speech of an ideal person, dear devotees. So when the teacher teaches others, we should try to inculcate these qualities in our speech. There is one very famous thing, most of us, all of us know about Gandhiji. And Gandhiji had a famous talisman. How many of us have heard about Gandhi's talisman? Somebody has heard about Gandhi's talisman? So there is a very nice talisman that Gandhi had given, and this talisman is recorded in his speech. So talisman is like a mantra, means a short mantra that he gave to others. So Gandhi's talisman, he said something, and please hear very carefully. He said, I'll give you a talisman or a short mantra. Whenever you are in doubt or when the self becomes too much for you, apply the following test. Recall the face of the poorest and the weakest person whom you may have seen, and ask yourself if the step you are suggesting to them is going to be any use to the most weakest person in the audience. Dear devotees, when we are teaching somebody, we have to see that the instruction should also on some level be followable by which person? The weakest person in the audience. So I am saying that all of us should have knowledge of Shastra. Each and every one of us should have some knowledge of Shastra. Even the weakest amongst us should try to get some bona fide knowledge of Shastra. Otherwise, how can we understand our tradition? It is impossible to understand the tradition without having some grounding in Shastra. Especially if one wants to become a teacher, even if one is weak, one should have knowledge of Shastra. When we are teaching others, we should teach with the aim that the weakest student in the class should get the benefit of those instructions, dear devotees. So these are some very important things that a teacher should know and a teacher should understand. I'll go back to the presentation and I'll say a few more things before we pause for today. Now, it is important for a teacher to also study Shastra properly and to teach properly. When we teach Shastra to others, we are mainly teaching Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam or any such literature. How do we properly teach Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and other literature to those who are learning from us? Some of us may be conducting courses for individuals who are new. Some of us may be conducting courses for seasoned devotees. How do we ensure that we are teaching Shastra properly? We know what to teach now. What should we teach? Shastra. How do we teach it properly? There is a very nice verse which tells us how to teach Shastra properly, and this verse is mentioned in the Puranas. This verse is as follows. Please repeat after me. Padacheda padarthokte Vigraho Vakya Yojana Akshepasya Samadhanam Vyakhyanam Panchalakshanam. So, a Vyakhyan or complete explanation of Shastra contains 5 steps. How many steps, dear devotees? 5. What is step 1? Please repeat after me. Padachedaha. Breaking down the individual terms. First thing we should do is, when we are teaching a verse, what should we do? We should break down the individual terms. Has Srila Prabhupada done this in his Srimad Bhagavatam? Yes. Wonderful. So Prabhupada's Srimad Bhagavatam contains the first step. Step 2. Please repeat after me. Pada Artha Uktihi. Explaining the meaning of each and every term that we have just broken down. Does Srila Prabhupada do this in his Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita? Yes. Ideal teaching. Okay. Third, Please repeat after me. Vigraha. Vigraha is explaining grammatical breakdown of difficult terms. Some difficult terms need special explanation. Has Srila Prabhupada done this in his commentaries? Yes. Fourth is, please repeat after me, Vakya Yojana. Means forming a meaningful sentence from the words of the verse. So, forming a meaningful translation. Has Srila Prabhupada done this in his books? Yes. Fifth, please repeat after me. Akshepasya samadhanam. Samadhan, resolving various akshepas or doubts that arise from time to time and correcting any mistakes that a student might have made. Now, dear devotees, is this always possible from a book? Can all doubts be solved by reading the explanation that is already present in the book? Sometimes the answer is yes, sometimes the answer is no. When the answer is no, who will solve the doubt? Okay, Shastra, but Shastra is unlimited. The person who is speaking, the person who is teaching is the one on whose shoulder is the responsibility of the fifth step. Akshepasya samadhanam. Resolving the doubts is a living process, dear devotees. It is a which process? Living process. Therefore, when we are having Srimad Bhagavatam classes, we have every day a person comes and sits and gives a Bhagavatam class. Once a week, maybe we may have a tape recorder or tape playing of Srila Prabhupada. But remaining days of the week, who is giving a class? Somebody who is sitting and who is able to solve doubts live as new doubts are presented, dear devotees. So it is important to understand that an explanation is not complete unless there is the fifth and most important step. And what is the fifth and most important step? Akshepasya samadhanam, resolution of doubts. No explanation of Shastra is complete unless the doubts are resolved. And therefore it is important that the speaker should carry out. Because first four you can get from a book. I hope you are able to. First four you can easily get from a book. One time a person asked me, and a senior devotee asked me, and I always remember what he said. What is it that I can get from you that I cannot get by reading a book? It's very important. What is it that I can get from you that I cannot get by reading a book? So this is fifth step. That which you cannot get by reading a book is the resolution of the doubts. That is what a speaker should do. Because first four you can get by reading a book. Vyakhyanam Panchalakshanam. In this way, a complete explanation consists of how many steps? 5 steps, dear devotees. So this is from the Puranas, dear devotees. And finally, I would like to say one thing. Please be, those of us who are teaching other students, please be kind to your students. Students will learn by a combination of various factors. It is not simply by our teaching that the student will learn. The student needs a combination of various factors in order to learn. Dear devotees, please hear carefully. There are 4 factors which a student needs in order to learn the message of the Shastra completely. These factors are specified in Mahabharata. I will specify the verse. Please repeat the verse after me. Kalena padam labhate tathartham tatascha padam guru yogatascha utsaha yogena cha padam riche shastrena padam cha tato bhiyati. Okay, so sincere student learns any text by combination of 4 things. Please hear. First is kalena. First thing is you need some time for the student to digest what has been taught. For example, if I teach something new today and I expect today evening you have to tell me what you have learnt. So is it possible for somebody to digest it immediately? No. He may memorize it, but to digest and understand it, it will take some time. So what is the first and most important factor needed? Time. Second, tatascha padam guru yogatascha. So 1/4 is learnt by time, 1/4 is learnt by instruction from the guru. Utsaha yogena. 1/4 is learned by one's own enthusiasm and self-study. And shastrena padam, and remaining 1/4 by discussion with mutual students. So it's a combination of how many factors? 4. Learning from a guru is only how much? 1/4. 1/4 is discussion with other students. 1/4 is self-study. And remaining 1/4 is what? Time. I hope everybody is able to understand. This is how one gets a complete understanding of the topic that one has to read. Amongst these 4, those who are in the position of teachers, how much do we have in our control? 1/4. But we should ensure that that 1/4 is also very mature, pakka and authentic. We have to give something authentic to the people who are learning from us, dear devotees. But the student should be having other factors in order to gain a complete understanding. Finally, dear devotees, after teaching a student, what should the teacher expect from the student? Should the teacher expect some reward or remuneration from the student? What was Srila Prabhupada's mood? Can anybody tell me? Yes, Prabhu. But should the guru expect some reciprocation or remuneration from the disciple or that has been taught? No. So, Vedic culture is a combination of contradictions. I have always said this. The guru doesn't expect, but the disciple is eager to give. Please try to understand this always. This is Vedic culture is a combination of mutually contradictory, behavior sometimes. The guru is supposed to never expect, but the disciple is supposed to always give. Because otherwise gratitude will not be shown. It's not expected that the disciple gives something very costly, but something should be given by the disciple as a token of reciprocation for the guru. Although the disciple can never pay back whatever the guru has taught, but still it is important that the disciple should have some spirit of reciprocating with what they have learned from the guru. It is important for the guru to be situated in this mood of not asking or not expecting something fixed from the disciple. And therefore it is said in Shastra, Bhagavan Shiva says in the Skanda Puran, and this is a very nice verse. Please repeat after me. Guravo Bahavah Santi Shishya Vittapaharaka Durlabho Sadgurur Devi Shishya Santapaharaka. Guravo Bahava Santi. There are many gurus in this world. What do? Shishya Vittapaharaka. They take away the wealth of the disciple. They are expert in one thing. They take away the wealth of the disciple. Durlabham Sadgurur Devi. But it's very rare to find that guru. O Parvati. Shishya Santapaharaka, who will snatch away the burning feeling of material existence from the heart of the disciple. Dear devotees, when we are teaching others, when we are giving shiksha to others, let us try to become that sort of a teacher who takes away the burning feeling of material existence from the heart of the prospective student who is learning from us. Let us not try to be Shishya Vitta Apaharakaha. Let us not try to be snatchers of the wealth of our students. I remember one thing, when my teacher, grammar teacher, he was taught by a very expert grammar teacher. And he was taught for almost 8 years. After learning for 8 years, he went to the guru and said, my education is complete. I want to offer you some Guru Dakshina. What should I give you? So the guru said, can you give me 2 pieces of clove? You know what is clove? Lavang. So the disciple said, why? That is the Guru Dakshina I want. Can you give me 2 pieces of clove? Said, but for what reason? I want to give you something. I wanted to give name an entire property for you. He said, no. Can you give me some clove? He said, yes. But for what reason? He said, because for so many years, every day I have to speak grammar sutras and my throat sometimes is irritated. So tomorrow there are new students coming. So I need some clove so that I can teach the new batch of students nicely, dear devotees. So he took 2 pieces of clove as his Guru Dakshina, as his remuneration for teaching the students. Does it mean that this Guru will never, he lost out on a lot of money? Does it mean that? Yes, obviously he rejected a lot of money, yes, isn't it? Logically, he rejected a lot of money. But Bhagavan will ensure that whatever he has willingly renounced, Bhagavan will ensure that the reciprocation will come in another greater form, in the form of advancement in spiritual life for that particular teacher, dear devotees. So let us be nispriha. Nispriha means not expecting anything from those who are learning from us. And when we become such examples of giving shiksha in the society, then the society will have a very healthy culture of shiksha, dear devotees. To summarize, I will once again repeat the concepts that I spoke of briefly. First and foremost, dear devotees, Vidya or education is something which liberates. If we give ignorance in the name of education, we are feeding people sweet poison, first and foremost. Vidya means it should liberate the person who is listening to us. Secondly, Vidya is expecting something from all of you Brahmanas. What was she expecting? Please protect me. Please preserve me. In each and every generation, please propagate me as I was propagated by the previous acharyas. Narottam Vilas Prabhu, I ask you a question. Did Sri Rupa Goswami, when he writing Upadeshamritam or Nectar of Instruction, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, did he say anybody who wants to learn this has to pay $500 as a fee for learning Upadeshamritam or Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu? No. If Sri Rupa Goswami keeps a fee of $500, would it be nice? All of you would like it? No? Why? It's much more than that. It should cost millions of dollars actually, Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. Just $500 fees Rupa Goswami will place. No? His disciple Jiva Goswami, did he place any fees on teaching Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu? His follower, Sri Narottam Das Thakur, did he place a fees on Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu? Say yes or no. His follower, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur placed a fees? No. His follower, Srila Baldev Vidyabhushan? His follower, Srila Bhakti Vinod Thakur? His follower, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur? His follower, Srila Prabhupada? Myself? What should be the answer? No. So that is very important for all of us to understand. How did the previous acharyas teach Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu? How did they teach the literature? Vats Shanto Bhava Atra Atishta. So, in this way they taught all their students. This is the tradition that we have to continue. If we change that, then it will be something different altogether. We will not become representatives of the tradition, dear devotees. So I hope that my speech was of some help to all of you today, dear devotees. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit vidvamsaha purayantu tat yatatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva menahim. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit. If there are any mistakes in what I spoke, vidvamsa, your learned devotees, purayantu tat, please correct any mistakes. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit. But if there is anything nice in what I said, please understand, tad guroreva. It belongs to my Guru Janas, me nahi. It doesn't belong to me. So thank you very much, dear devotees. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Yeah. As long as you want, I am here for questions, Prabhuji. Okay. Yes. So questions. So yes, Mataji can have the first. Somebody, let somebody please take up the seva of. of taking the mic to the person who wishes to ask the question. Yes. Please give him way, dear devotees. Yeah. Snehavali Mataji, please ask the first query.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Prabhu, up till now, I had an understanding that Bhagavad Gita was spoken live, and I would like to know a little bit more. How about when it says Arjuna Uvacha or Krishna Uvacha, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha, and when Krishna was showing the universal form? My understanding it was all live, and as Sanjay was speaking, Dhritarashtra was also understanding it. So if you can please explain a little bit more about it.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So, Mataji, I would like to just put a small query. What is the meaning of Uvacha?
Spoken. Uvacha. Speaks. Uvacha is speaks. Right? No?
What is the exact tense of the term Uvacha? Past tense.
I think that solves the whole.
In the present tense, it will be Vakti. Now, why is Sanjay Uvacha also in past tense? Because later who compiled it in Mahabharata? So from Vyasadev's point of view, Sanjay Uvacha spoke in past tense. Another Praman, in the Bhagavad Gita at the very end, Sanjay says something, I will point this out, and it is in the Bhagavad Gita. Yeah. This is 18.74. Sanjay Uvacha. Finally, Sanjay said in the past tense, Iti aham vasudevasya parthasya cha mahatmana samvadam idam ashrausham. Ashrausham. Ashrausham means I heard. I heard how many days ago? 10 days ago I heard. Ashrausham, if we see in the word for word, I have heard. Alright, so this is a verb from the past tense. It's not I am hearing. I have heard in the past 10 days ago that this conversation took place. Sanjay's benediction was, Vyasadeva, the benediction that Sri Vyasadeva gave to Sanjay was, Sanjay, you will be able to see the entire battle of Mahabharata in past, present and future from everybody's point of view. This was the benediction. So you will be able to see all events, past, present and future. You will be able to enter anybody's mind and see what they are thinking. You will be able to recollect all those events whenever you want in the past, present and future. This benediction was given to Sanjay by Sri Vyasadeva. Sri Vyasadeva wanted to originally give this benediction to Dhritarashtra. But Dhritarashtra refused, saying that I don't want to see the slaughter of my family members with my own eyes. So give it to Sanjay. And Sanjay said, all right, I will take this benediction. Sanjay heard. Sanjay was on the battlefield. Sanjay observed everything. And also the Bhagavad Gita he was able to hear because he had the benediction. Sanjay was on the battlefield for 10 days. Bhishma falls on the 10th day. Sanjay comes back, tells Dhritarashtra. Dhritarashtra says, Kim akurvata? What did they do? Please tell me from the very beginning. Sanjay doesn't begin from Bhagavad Gita. Sanjay begins from when both armies got together, what were the rules and regulations of the war, what were the terms decided, everything was decided. Then, after everything is decided, then on the first day what happened, then Sanjay, starts saying that Drishtva tu Pandavani kam vyudam duryodhanastada acharyam upasangamya raja vachanam abravit. What is the meaning of abravit? So, the second verse of Bhagavad Gita. What does abravit mean? Spoke. apathat, abravit. This is past tense verbs. Abravit. Duryodhan spoke to his acharya, Dronacharya. So the entire Bhagavad Gita is being narrated in which tense? Uvacha is a clear proof of that. Uvacha itself is a clear proof of that. I hope that satisfies your query, right? Thank you. Okay. Okay. Yes, Mataji, please take the mic to her. Yeah, let's keep the mic on. Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Thank you very much for the enlightening lecture. Prabhuji, two questions. What is the proper method to learn for a student? And what should be the bhava of a student while learning? As I've noticed, we learn from sannyasis, we learn from grihasthas, we learn from gurus who are younger to us, older to us, in that sense, Prabhuji.
So, let me just clarify the question. From whom should we learn or how should we learn?
So first question, Prabhuji, from what's the proper method to learn and what should be our bhava when we are learning from the various Siksha gurus?
Okay. So what is the proper method of learning from these various individuals, Vaishnavas who come? First thing is the proper method is there in the Shastra. As I said, there are 5 steps. What are the 5 steps? Padachhedaha, Padarthoktihi, Vigraha, Vakya Yojana, Akshepasya Samadhanam. Breaking down a text into individual terms, explaining the meaning of difficult terms, giving a proper translation, then giving a detailed explanation where all the other things are brought out. So from every person who comes as a speaker, we should try to see if we are able, we should try to get these 5 aspects from them. From some speakers, we may not be able to get 5 aspects. As many aspects of the complete teaching that we are able to get from them, we should get from them. Our aim should be mainly to focus on Akshep Samadhan. Akshep Samadhan means what explanation are they offering for a teaching which already exists in the book. So once we hear what they are saying, and then we should also tally it with what is given in the Shastra. Because how do we measure the yardstick of which speaker is, closer to the parampara and which speaker is not so close to the parampara? The yardstick is by seeing how close they are to what? Shastra. It's very important to understand. If they are very close to Shastra, then because Krishna says, I specified those, tasmat shastram pramanamte. Actually, the yardstick is what? Shastra. So as close a person is to Shastra, that is the degree of chastity that they have towards the Guru Parampara. And as far away as a person is from Shastra, then the mental speculations begin. And when the mental speculations begin, then a student is left with a lot of confusion in their hearts. Because what is given in Shastra is the very clear path. And what is not in Shastra is actually the difficult path. In the 64 limbs of Bhakti that are specified in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu, one of the 64 limbs of Bhakti is to follow exactly in the path of Shastra and Sadhus. Sadhu Vartmanu Vartanam is one of the 64 limbs of Bhakti, to follow exactly in the path of Shastra and the previous Sadhus. So when we are following Shastra, we are following one of the 64 limbs of Bhakti. Alright? So this answers one of your question. And secondly, what was the second question?
The bhava, mood, Prabhuji. The mood while learning.
Okay, what is the mood of the student while learning? When we sit in somebody's talk as an audience, a person should not sit with an aim to find faults with the speaker. Generally, when I sit in somebody's class, I sit with an aim to compliment the speaker. Compliment means to assist the speaker in what they are speaking. There is a tradition, it is called as Anumodan. Has somebody heard the term Anumodan? Yes. So can somebody tell me what is the meaning of Anumodan? That is Anukaran. No, Anumodan. Approval, appreciation, support. That is what is the meaning of what? Anumodan. When we sit in somebody's talk, we should give respect to that particular entity. Why have we made that person sit on a higher place if we don't respect them? I hope you are able to understand. Why have we made them sit on a higher place? Many times we make a person sit on a higher place, but in our minds we have disrespect for them. So that we should not do. If we don't have respect for a certain person, better than increasing that disrespect is to stay away from the class. I hope you are able to understand. But if we have come to somebody's class and we are sitting in somebody's class, and if that person has been given a higher position, till the class is going on, that higher position should be respected. It's very important. It is shishta vyavhar. It is the behavior of the previous great personalities. When Srimad Bhagavatam was being spoken in Naimisharanya, who is the speaker? In Naimisharanya, Suta Goswami. Who are the listeners? Shaunak Adi. Shaunak is Bhavricha Rigvedi Brahman. Shaunak is, he knows Bahurichas, many hymns of Rigveda. Therefore it's called Bhavricha. Bhavricha Rigvedi Brahman. And who is Suta Goswami? Which Veda is he proficient in? He is not proficient in any one of the 4 Vedas. He is proficient only in which subject? Puranas. Yet Shaunak is with folded hands garlanding him, making him sit and say, can you please tell us about the pastimes of Bhagavan? Why? It is Shishta Parampara. It is etiquette. That if somebody knows a particular topic better, then they have been made to sit on the asan. Then the maryada, the respect of that asan should be maintained. Because often what happens is, sometimes in the audience we sit with a challenging mood. And then we challenge the speaker in front of everybody. And then we say, how do you know this is what is given? Even if the speaker is speaking something incorrect, public correction is not the way of going about it. I hope. Many times when I am sitting as the audience, sometimes I have heard that some incorrect things, outright incorrect things have been spoken. But is that the place to immediately correct them? No, that is not the place to immediately correct them. If they have spoken something incorrect, then privately we can approach them and say, see, you spoke something in the class, I have a small doubt, and this is what I would like to say. But the class is not a place for them to correct. So this should be our mood towards the speaker. The speaker has been given a higher asan, and there is a reason why the speaker has been given the higher asan. We should maintain the dignity of the asan. Otherwise, tomorrow when we sit on the asan, that person will be sitting below us, dear devotees. And then that person knows, acha, now, that person will sit with the same intention. Do we want such people in our audience? No, we don't want. So we should similarly behave with others in the same way. So I hope that clarifies. Okay? Thank you. Okay. Radhakund Mataji, Nartom Vilas Prabhu. Oh, thank you. Okay, Mataji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, Dhanyavad, for all the lectures you give for us. It is with lots and lots of instructions for all of us to follow, Prabhu. Thank you so much. So, Prabhuji, I have 2 questions. One is, so Shabda Brahma and Parabrahma, okay? Among both of that, Shabda Brahma is very, very important, right? Through that we can reach Parabrahma. But
yeah.
So, Prabhuji, in that case, when we preach to the new people, we start with Bhagavad Gita, right? So Bhagavad Gita is a message of Sri Krishna directly, and Bhagavatam is his glorification. So which one is more important, Prabhu, among both of that? Which one makes the people get closer to Krishna?
Which one is more important? Whatever is helpful for them to come to Krishna Bhakti is more important. There are individuals who became devotees by reading books such as Krishna book. In December we are distributing Krishna book. Now is Krishna book Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam? And which canto? Are we supposed to openly give it out? When somebody opens it in the middle, he will find Krishna was placing his hands on the shoulder of the gopis, Are we supposed to give it out? Obviously, yes. Why? Some people get attracted to that. And they become devotees by reading that. So, Nivritta tarshai rupagiyamanat bhavaushadaat shrotra manobhiramat ka uttama shloka gunanuvadat puman virajyata vina pashughnat. 10th canto, 1st chapter, 4th verse. In the beginning only it says that Srimad Bhagavatam is attractive to everybody except somebody who is killing his own self. So it will be attractive to everybody. Bhagavad Gita is also attractive to everybody. But different literature appeal to different individuals. So therefore we keep an entire set of books on the book table. So different literature appeal to different people, people pick up different literature. Some people look at the cover of the Krishna book. I had that, original cover where Krishna is, which his hands on shoulder of Srimati Radharani, and that was so. And there was a preface which says when somebody looks at Krishna book, they say who is Krishna and who is the girl with Krishna. Prabhupada is writing that, and then he goes ahead to answer who is Krishna, but doesn't answer who is the girl with. Immediately he doesn't answer that. So any book which helps one to become Krishna conscious is good enough. Sometimes the acharyas make such an exception that they may give the most confidential, intimate detail to a complete newcomer and still make them a devotee. Example is seen in the life of Srila Prabhupada himself. Srila Prabhupada was once visited by a Peace Corps worker named Bob Cohen. He is now initiated, now became a devotee, Brahma Tirtha Prabhu. And the first meeting is recorded in the book Perfect Questions, Perfect Answers. One of the first questions that Bob Cohen, now is Brahma Tirtha, but that time Bob Cohen, asked Srila Prabhupada is that is rascaldom also in God? I say, huh? So there is something which Prabhupada replies to him, and I would like to show this. Mataji, this is what Prabhupada says. His first question is, what is a scientist? That is where things begin. And gradually the discussion comes to, is Krishna attractive to rascals? All right. Prabhupada's reply, oh yes, he was also the greatest rascal. So this is a new person walking in the door, and Narottam Vilas Prabhu, will you give such an answer? Huh? Is Krishna attractive to the rascals? And Narottam Vilas Prabhu says, yeah, Krishna was the greatest rascal. So then Bob says, how is that? He's surprised actually, how is that? Huh? So Prabhupada starts laughing because he was always teasing the gopis. Now this is a new person. And how can you get into, if somebody else does it, the leaders will call him aside and say, everything okay with you? So Prabhupada then gives some details, some very intimate details of Radha and Krishna pastimes, which I will not discuss here. But in the end, he became an initiated devotee. So our purpose was achieved, dear devotees. Our purpose was achieved. So the purpose is whatever books help one to reach the stage of being a fixed up devotee are the ones we should teach.
In that case, how about we understand our hierarchy mentioned in ISKCON, like, Bhagavad Gita first, and then Bhagavatam, and then Chaitanya Charitamrita?
That hierarchy is for somebody who is beginning a serious study. Somebody who is beginning a serious systematic study, that hierarchy applies to them. Otherwise, if we take that hierarchy literally for everybody who is walking in the door, then we should have only one book on the table, the first book. So that hierarchy is for somebody who is beginning a systematic serious study of Shastra. That hierarchy is not a compulsion, it is a recommendation. It is a recommendation. It's not a compulsion upon everybody. So that hierarchy was not given by Srila Prabhupada. I know there exists a list of books. First you should read this, then you should read this, then you should read, then you should read this. I know such a hierarchy exists. But that is neither the not a compulsion, it's a gentle recommendation. And let's keep it at that level, gentle recommendation. Because I myself also, when I started reading, the first book I read was Bhagavad Gita. Then I read the small books. So I have not really followed the hierarchy. But still at the end of the day, the Siddhantas are there. So basically, that is what it is. So I hope this clarifies. Okay, thank you.
Prabhu, I have another small question from.
Okay, can we go to him and then come back to you? Okay, so that, yeah. You wanted to ask something? Okay.
It's a very, may not be a direct question, but so when you said that we should teach shastras specifically to new devotees or people, devotees in general, but sometimes, there are classes like, Pratanga classes, so assisting May Sankirtan. So is that part of the, because it's not 164 limbs that teaching instruments, right? But so is that part of, can we consider that as,
So there are classes on learning musical instruments.
music per se to sing?
So the classes should be labeled properly. Learning Krishna Kirtan, learning Mridanga, for what? For Kirtan. Because as soon as we dissociate it from Bhagavan Shri Krishna, Narad Muni says it is like a boat which has no anchor. It will, disturb the minds of the people. Yesterday I was speaking about it in the home program. Juhu Goswami says that before an actual fire sacrifice begins, the actual fire sacrifice is swaha, swaha, that is what leads to the punya or piety. But before the actual fire sacrifice begins, there is a lot of preparation that takes place for the fire sacrifice. Collecting the wood, making the kunda. So those activities, are they mundane or are they part of the fire sacrifice? Part of the fire sacrifice. Similarly, activities such as learning how to play mridanga, learning how to play kartal, they are initial activities in preparing for the sacrifice. What sacrifice are we executing in this age? Shri Krishna Sankirtan. So just as initial activities of a fire sacrifice are included in the fire sacrifice, similarly initial activities of learning various vidyas, for what purpose? For the purpose of connecting it to Bhagavan's seva, service, they are considered as a part of bhakti. But if you have a class detached from Bhagavan's seva, then that will not become part of bhakti. Then that will be something which will disturb the mind of the individuals, because that is something which has become mundane, disconnected from the main root of the tree. So I hope that satisfies your query. All right? Thank you. Yes, you want to do? Yeah, there was somebody.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for a wonderful lecture. One question I had is, what was your approach to have such depth in the shastras? Like when you started with Bhagavad Gita, as you said, to approach books and all the shastras to get such a deep knowledge?
My first approach for learning shastra was to first study the literature in a language which is accessible to me. So the language which was initially accessible to me was English and Hindi. So I studied Srila Prabhupada's books because that was the first language that was accessible to me. I also have access to other languages, but the most immediately accessible language was English and Hindi. So I first read Srila Prabhupada's books. This I am speaking about 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. The first 5 years. Thereafter I was interested in exploring various angles of the same literature. So there is something called as Prathama Vritti. Prathama Vritti means first reading of the book. First reading of the book you do with a commentary which is simple enough to understand. Once you have done Prathama Vritti, then you do Vishesha Vritti. Vishesha Vritti means a special redoing of the same book with different commentaries and different angles of view. So Prathama Vritti and Dvitiya Vritti or Vishesh Vritti. So Prathama Vritti is you go through the book once, and Vishesh Vritti is you go through it from a detailed point of view again. And this you can go any number of times. But one basic reading should be done with a commentary that is easy enough to understand. And for me it was Srila Prabhupada's commentary on Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So I hope that answer satisfies you. Thank you.
So,
yeah.
So Prabhuji, you were mentioning about a verse you have mentioned, how we have to preach, Prabhu. So in that mentioned that we should not agitate others while we preach, right? So in that case, tell them actually when newcomers come, something for them, but we have to mention, right, like 4 regulative principles, like no meat education. So how do we actually tell them, Prabhu, without...
So, I don't think it is agitating to tell them that they should follow some discipline in the path of Bhakti Yoga. When somebody comes, we just tell them that we are trying to follow the path of Bhakti Yoga, and just as all paths of yoga have some sense of self-discipline, similarly our path of yoga also has some parameters of self-discipline that are expected from the practitioner. 4 aspects of self-discipline are expected. First aspect is to not indulge in violence towards other living entities. That happens by not eating meat. Second aspect is to not indulge in intoxication. Third is to not indulge in gambling. And fourth is to not indulge in relationships that are outside of the border of what Vedic tradition specifies. So these are the self-imposed disciplines that any bhakti yogi is expected to follow. So what is the agitation in this? There is no agitation. We should specify it in a way people will not be agitated. But if we beat them with the 4 regulative principles, that will be agitating. Beat them with the 4 regulative principles, that will be agitating. Therefore, we should try to speak to them in a way that they will be able to follow the 4 regulative principles. They should not live in perpetual guilt. Force, what will force achieve? This is Krishna's statement in Bhagavad Gita. Nigraha kim karishyati. It's not my statement. It's Krishna's statement. What will force achieve? Force will not achieve anything. The person is supposed to naturally rise above the base tendencies of his or her existence. How will that happen? They are not enlightened enough to rise above that. And for somebody who is not enlightened enough, what will force achieve? Somebody is not convinced that killing animals is bad. So first and foremost, what is better for them? To be convinced or to force them to not eat meat? To be convinced. Similarly, for all other regulative principles, the best thing is for them to be convinced and naturally follow what it is. That is what our aim should be, to bring them to that point. If it is needed to give them 100 examples, explain from 100 points of view, in order to make them understand that, that is the expertise of the teacher. But if the teacher starts forcing the student, then that means the teacher has no other option left or no other method remaining to teach the student. That is when the teacher is resorting to forcing the student. So why force a student when the student can be made to easily understand why 4 regulative principles should be followed? I'll give an example of this. In the 10th canto, there is the pastime of Nala Kubera and Manigriv, who are taking a bath in a heavenly river, and Narad Muni comes there, and both of them forget to greet Narad Muni properly. So they are sporting with some girls, and Narad Muni comes. The girls put on their clothes out of shyness, and these 2 people, just like that, naked, they get up and say, Hari Bol Narad Muni, how are you? So then Narad Muni says, Acha, alright, this is what is going on. So Narad Muni at that point of time curses them and says, you become trees. At that point of time, the commentator Sri Hari Suri says, see, even big people fall down because of breaking 4 regulative principles. Dear devotees, learn something. Big people fall down. He says, Dasharath received the reaction of not following the first regulative principle. Now that you have to figure out. How did Dasharath receive that? Dasharath had received somebody's curse. Whose curse had Dasharath received? The parents of Shravan Kumar. Because Dasharath was doing something at that point of time. What was Dasharath doing at that point of time? Hunting. Killing of deer. For what purpose? not only for fun. Kshatriyas kill also for eating. So, first regulative principle was broken in the case of a great personality named whom? Second regulative principle is what? No intoxication. These two trees are clear example of that. Why are they speaking to Narad Muni like this? Because they are intoxicated. Whose sons are they? Kuber. Kuber's son now reduced to becoming trees. Can you imagine the fall? Kubera's son now reduced to becoming trees in a forest. It's a very big incident. Yeah. So they immediately fell. They didn't even have GPS directions how to fall. They fell directly. Dear devotees. They fell directly from the heavenly planets. All right. So, and became trees at that very moment of. It must have been universal news that the sons of Kubera are from tomorrow onwards. They have to live as what? Trees. And what is the third regulative principle? No gambling. Sri Hari Suri says, just see the ancestors of Parikshit who is listening to Srimad Bhagavatam. They received the reaction of not following this third regulative principle, no gambling. And the fourth regulative principle is no illicit sex. Ravan, the commentator on the four Vedas, the big devotee of Lord Shiva, he received the reaction of not following the fourth regulative principle. Dear devotees, he says, if these great people can fall down because of breaking one regulative principle, what to speak of all of us who are still practitioners on the path. Therefore, dear devotees, with folded hands I tell you, please take the process seriously and follow the four regulative principles that have been given to you. How does that teacher sound? So there is a way in how we speak to others. That is the expertise of the teacher. All right? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Hare Krishna. I think if there are more questions, would you like to entertain them or later?
No, I think the indication of time is to entertain. I am here, but I would also like to respect the time of.
So those of you that are hungry and want to take prasadam with you to go, you can do so. There's a table outside that's got food that's been offered to Lord, and you can take. I think those of you that want to have more, there's a program coming up at 5. Yeah. So that's a little distance from here. And I know they're trying to do their best to have a program where they can welcome everyone. So I think,
sure.
And maybe couple more questions.
Sure.
But those that are hungry and want to take food item, you can.
Okay.
Don't worry, there'll be boxes left after the question answer session.
Yes.
There are programs with Prabhuji. He's visiting us from India. So tonight, like Prabhuji said, there's a program. Then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evenings, since these are weekdays, also we have programs. The email has been sent to all the temple congregation. Please look at your emails. If you don't have that or you didn't get it, come and talk to me. I can send you the program schedule.
Thank you.
So you are welcome to attend all these programs. There will be plenty of time to clarify questions and hear from Prabhuji.
Yes, thank you so much, Prabhu. Thank you. Yeah. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Sometimes we hear this phrase, learn by teaching. How to understand that with the context of what we discussed today?
Learn by teaching means, as I showed the verse in the Mahabharata, 1/4 is by discussing with students. So learn by teaching whom? Learn by teaching something to your co-student. Okay, so somebody who's on an equal level, you try to. That's how you learn by teaching. Learn by teaching doesn't mean that a person who is I learn. But in that process, he will give a lot of incorrect knowledge in the hearts of people who are listening to him. So, and those people will carry the misconceptions with them for a long time. So, ideally, learn by teaching means learn by teaching to your co-students informally, privately. So that is what is Shastric, method. Because otherwise, let's say, do you want a teacher who is learning by teaching? No. Why, you ask a question. Let's say your teacher also thinks, I will learn by teaching. Your name, Prabhu? So I will learn by teaching Chandrasekhar. All right. So is Chandrasekhar Prabhu happy with such a teacher? What sort of a teacher do you want for yourself? Oh, completely learned. So then, there's a big difference in the teacher that we are expecting for ourselves and the teacher we want to become for others. So that should not, that difference should not be there. If we want a Pakka teacher for ourselves, we should also become one for somebody else, right? So that is the answer to your query. All right. Thank you. Yeah, anybody else has a query, please raise your hand. And if not, then we can pause here for today. There is a query? Did somebody raise? No, no?
No.
Right. Okay.
Any further questions? No. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us with this wonderful class and question and answer session with His Grace Hari Parshad Prabhu. So Hari Parshad Prabhuji ki jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki
jai. Shri Shinatai Satyanand Dev ki jai. Shri Lakshmi Narasimha Bhagwan ki jai. Thank you very much. As Brahmakana Prabhu said, there's multiple future events occurring until Thursday. So please avail yourself of that. Temple-wide email went out. If you didn't get it, let the other Leela Mataji, can you raise your hand? No. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for the devotees who are stayed behind and asked